The directions tool was my gateway to truly making the Lyte phone my daily device. Before the directions tool available on the Lyte phone, I constantly kept my iPhone in reach in case I had a meeting booked somewhere I did not know how to navigate. Now, it has the tool, but is the tool any good? I've been using it for about 2 months now as my only navigational tool, traveling around town, city to city, and even across state lines. So what does it do well, and where could it be improved? And is it a true smartphone replacement based on the directions tool capabilities? Let's get to the point right away. Does the Lyte phone directions tool work well? Yes, it is reliable and it gets me where I need to go every time. Now let's talk about the nuances. Every journey starts with a destination, and the Lyte phone does a really good job finding your current location and getting things ready to start. I was afraid it would take a little time to get its bearings and figure out where I was when I first pull up the tool, but it had no problems. Now there are 3 modes of transportation that are available on the directions tool: walking, driving, and public transit. Now unfortunately, I'm not near a big city, nor have I visited one since using the Lyte phone for the past few months. So I'm sorry, I'm not able to speak into the public transit element of the transportation mode. Now I noticed that the tool defaults to walk for the mode of transportation, and there's not a way to adjust this in the settings, but it just takes a quick tap to get it switched over. And if it senses that you're moving quickly, say above walking speed, it quickly calculates and understands that you're in fact driving, and it recalculates to be in driving mode automatically. So even if you start your route in walking mode and you're driving, it figures it out quickly and doesn't create an issue. Searching for a local destination is very simple. You can either take the business name approach or type in the formal address. But do note that if you take the address approach, it will not populate the name. Personally, I like this about the smartphone, especially if I'm going somewhere new. With a smartphone, you type in the address and it usually correlates the business you're going to in order to give you the clear confirmation that you've typed in the correct address. But if you're going for the address approach, just make sure you verify that you in fact typed in the correct address without any typos. If you mistype the name of the business, the directions tool is still able to make sense of what you're trying to find based on the directory tool, and it will bring up relevant results. Now addresses, you're going to want to make sure that you get those right, just for the sake of navigating to the correct location, as I mentioned a moment ago. Now, fun fact, you can even search general locations such as gas or coffee or hospital. And this is very handy, especially when traveling out of town and you don't really know where these locations are. I want to be clear that I purchased the Lyte Phone 3 with my own money. However, I also wanted to be clear that I do have a partner for this video series, Lyca Mobile. Get started with Lyca Mobile for just $10. Now you'll get 18 gigs of data per month, which includes 10 gigs of high-speed hotspot. Now they also have an unlimited plan starting at just $20. This is my strong recommendation for those who are active on their phones throughout the day, particularly students who want unlimited high-speed data with 15 gigs of high-speed hotspot to share with friends. Now you'll also get the usual Lyca benefits of unlimited talk and text nationwide and to 100 countries, as well as unlimited talk and text if you're in Canada and Mexico. Keep in mind again that this offer is for new customers and only available at lycamobile.com. If you're curious about the exact price of the Lyte phone, you want to check the availability, or even you just want to purchase one right now, you can head down in the description below and click those links. If you do make a purchase, I'll get a small commission, but at no extra cost to you. But of course, that's what keeps this channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. If you want to drive, say 50 plus miles out of your municipal area or even across state lines, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. You'll need to be specific and expand your search to find the correct heading. For instance, if I type in Jacksonville, Florida, the directions tool will initially pull up results for Jacksonville Drive or other related searches that are in my local area. I must click the expand search option 2 separate times for it to expand out the 360 plus miles necessary to get me to my desired destination. Now do note that you will need Wi-Fi or cell signal to start your route. So if you're not having signal, you'll be dead in the water until you can find a signal and get started. Now that I've found my destination, let's start navigating. The navigation voice is very pleasant. I was driving with my wife the other day, turned on the directions tool, and she said, that voice is actually quite pleasant. Not that strange AI Siri vibe.
Now turn right.
I completely agree. It's very nice to listen to. She speaks loudly and clearly, so it's easy to follow. Now, speaking of the voice, I was wondering what would happen if I received a phone call while using the directions tool. There are no disruptions or issues. The navigation continues to speak even with the person on the phone call speaking to me as well. And the person on the phone call does not hear the directions tool speaking, which I thought was really impressive. Now the turn-by-turn gives ample time to understand what's coming up next, and the directions are easy to follow. So sometimes with Apple Maps, I'm caught off guard because I feel like it does not give me enough of a heads up for my next turn or exit. I like the timing of the directions tool. It does a really good job, and I honestly prefer it over my iPhone. The map that's featured on the tool is easily understandable. It shows up and coming streets along the route, clearly defined turns and distances. For a small screen, they've made great use of the space. One thing I was curious about is how often the app itself will update for any changes in construction to roads that might take place. My community just built a new roundabout. I drove down the road about a week after its completion, and the directions tool was already updated to notice that through traffic and the two-way stop had become a roundabout, and it directed me accordingly. I know some of you will ask, can you use the directions tool on the Light Phone 2? Yes, you can. But the Light Phone 2 is an e-ink display, so it will be constantly refreshing in order to keep up with your route and the turn-by-turn directions. So constant refreshing of the screen will cause the battery to be consumed faster and the device to heat up. So it's recommended to use the directions tool under about a 35-minute trip. Per Light's post, the screen slows down as a precaution to prevent damage, and this can cause the tool and phone to become much less practical to use, or hardly usable at all after enough time, situation depending. So there is a clear warning, and I think if you want the best experience, the Light Phone 3 is the way to go. Now the Light Phone 3 is equipped with a matte OLED display, so the directions tool can be used without heating up as the e-ink display does. Now it will still consume substantial amounts of battery and get warm, but not overheat. I would recommend plugging the phone in to keep it charged if you're going on a longer road trip to preserve battery power. Now, did I have any trouble with the tool? Yes. There was an instance where I knew the general direction I was going, but I was uncertain of the exact location. I wanted to take a less congested back road in the general direction of my location, which I thought would drop me closer to the location than the initial route had me going. And for this, I wanted the direction tool to kind of catch up with my mode of direction and then map me accordingly. So I went ahead and took the turn that I wanted to take and started down the road. But the directions tool insisted that I go back to the main road. And thinking that I might have been wrong about where the location was, I diverted back to the main road the directions tool wanted me on. Come to find out, I was right, and the direction I wanted to go would have been the same time, if not a little bit faster. But since the route was already charted, the tool insisted I stay course, and it did not reroute effectively. Now there have been other times that the tool rerouted effectively, but I did notice this time specifically that it struggled to make a complete reroute, rather than just simply rerouting me back to the original turns and roads that the tool mapped out when the route started. Again, this may be a case-by-case situation, but it is one that I noticed and it is good to be aware of. So perhaps the best thing for me to do would have been to head down that initial road that I wanted to take and then reset the map, and perhaps it would have given me the location based on the road that I went onto, rather than trying to map me back to the original route that it had mapped out. A suggestion for Light: user voice command to search for locations. You can use voice to text, so why not include this feature on the directions tool, especially if you're trying to map while driving, which I and you should not do. But if we're honest, we've all been there and done that. So it would be great to not have to do this in the future. It'd be nice to be able to speak into the phone and find the directions that way. Now let's talk about privacy. As convenient as it is for my iPhone to remember where my home is located, my common meeting locations, church, it's honestly a little unsettling. So when it comes to the Light Phone, they've built the directions tool like all the other tools with privacy as a priority. Light does not have access to any location info or logs of your trip history. These trips are handled privately without user identification using their navigation partner Here. You can learn more about Here at here.com. I love this. It fits the entire purpose of the Light Phone to simplify my life and make privacy a priority. If you're curious about my full overview of the Light Phone or my individual deep dives into the Light Phone, you can clear tap the screen here. And if you want to check out Lyca and get set up on a budget-friendly plan for the Light Phone, you can head down in the description below and click those links. Also, if you want to check out the live pricing or make a purchase of the Light Phone, I have affiliate links in the description below. I really appreciate when you all use those if you're considering making a purchase, as it helps out keep my channel alive and the helpful content coming your way. I'll see you in the next video.